I am no stranger to cancel culture. Despite being completely irrelevant, you'd be surprised at the amount of times people have tried to take away my platform. I mean, even last Friday, some guy dressed up as a police officer said he was gonna arrest me because I was shitting on the sidewalk and there were children present. Fuck off, libtard. I'm trying to take a shit. You can't even shit in this country anymore without people getting offended. My tax dollars pay for that sidewalk, or at least part of it, because there's no way all of that money's going to Israel. Well, it might actually. But despite my numerous encounters with miserable and stupid retards online, I've walked away from it with a relatively neutral take on cancel culture. Unfortunately, a new wave of well-intentioned social justice has been hijacked by insecure bullies with nothing better to do. Things like the life quality of Black America or transgender rights are noble causes that have been bastardized for the sake of complaining, harassing people online, and worst of all, mindlessly virtue signaling. And as if that wasn't bad enough, not only has cancel culture created an environment for joyless assholes to freely express themselves, it's also created a culture of mindless, unfunny edgelords who get off on the idea of triggering the libs. Back in the day, being edgy wasn't a thing.
Quick editor's note, when I say back in the day, I mean like 10 or 15 years ago. I'm not talking about like this. That's kind of different.
To be funny, you couldn't rely on shock humor, but you also couldn't avoid it. There was a healthy balance of walking the line, crossing it occasionally, but never disregarding the line. When you're making jokes and all of them are predicated around offending people, you aren't really being funny. You're just being a douchebag. And the only people who do find that type of humor funny are insecure men who have never had sex or insecure men who manage to knock a bitch out for a few minutes. The point that I'm trying to make is that being edgy is perfectly fine. I think in order to be funny and freely express yourself through comedy, you'll inevitably say something that crosses the line. There is humor within saying something shocking, and that is something that should be freely expressed. But people who rely on that shock factor are likely the least funny people you'll ever meet. Enter in Master Oogway, a content creator that does pretty much exactly what I just described. There is a large market of people who are sick of over-sanitized and inoffensive content. There's also a large demographic of people who are fucking stupid. And so, as a result, there's a lot of crossover between these two demographics. You see, a lot of people who are sick of wokeism taking over modern-day media are also too stupid to have actual standards for the things they consume. They don't care if you're funny or interesting or even remotely likable. They just support you if you go against everything they despise. Master Oogway is not funny or interesting. He's just mentally capable of making offensive jokes with no substance and not killing himself out of shame. Recently, Master Oogway has gotten into some controversy on Twitter, posting this tweet. Well, that's it. My YouTube account with 7 mil subs and 500 mil views a month is gone soon because of a group of people spam reporting me to rack up guideline strikes. So this is how you treat your creators after they've given 4 years to grow on your platform at Team YouTube? Now, on the surface, I'm against deplatforming. I think people should be allowed to say what they want and make the jokes that they want, even if it's unfunny and poorly thought out. However, despite this, I'm also not in fantasy land. There are rules and regulations on YouTube that we have to follow. My belief system does not correlate with the reality of what YouTube will decide to platform. And very quickly, I saw lots of convincing shit that makes me believe that Master Oogway had this coming all along. The first video I saw was a rap song he did called Is My Now, if there's one person who loves saying the N-word, it's this guy. But I also know that saying the N-word on YouTube is just a guaranteed way to get in trouble. I also can't help but point out just like how juvenile this joke is. Like, if you want to make a joke about or you want to make a joke where you say the N-word, fucking go for it. I'm not gonna complain. But like, if the entire joke is just the fact that you're saying something offensive, it's not funny, objectively. And by the way, when I say it's not funny, I'm not pearl clutching and saying it's too offensive. I'm like literally saying, who the fuck would actually laugh at this? I would have came up with this shit when I was like 13 and you're a grown man. A few days prior, he apparently got banned on TikTok, stating the following. It's over, guys. After 4 years of making dark humor content, I'm officially getting canceled. God damn you, wokeness. That statement right there just tells me so much. Some people might regard me as an offensive creator. Like, it's a title that I don't shy away from and I definitely embrace. But I also wouldn't call the content I make dark humor content. It's comedy. My focus is comedy. It's not being offensive. You know, being offensive is just a byproduct of telling jokes. Mr. Oogway himself admittedly is a one-trick pony. Much like Amy Schumer talking about her stinky vagina, Mr. Oogway relies solely on disgusting the poor souls that come into contact with him by repeating the same tired shit over and over for cheap laughs. You cannot tell me this ain't funny, bruh. This is hilarious.
If she is young and blind, You won't have to speak up from behind.
That isn't fun. That isn't funny at all. There's nothing funny about that. The entire joke is just you're saying something extremely shocking and rhyming while doing it, as if it's like a Chinese proverb. What is funny about that? You can feasibly make a joke about that subject and it can be funny, but your joke isn't funny. It just has no substance. I also can't help but point out that if you're making a joke that's offensive, and the only reason you're saying it is because it's offensive, then not only is it not funny, it's just like a genuinely shitty thing to say. I feel like you need to have at least one other contextual justification for making an edgy joke aside from it just being offensive. You're genuinely embarrassing. The only way you can get views is by shock. So, why is it a shame to make content that works? It's like saying the only way you can get views is by being funny. Loser. Is he actually this fucking stupid? He is conflating being shocking with being funny. Like, he actually has the intelligence of a fucking 5th grader. It is pathetic that the only way that you can get views is by being shocking. Much like it's pathetic that Amy Schumer got famous talking about her vagina. I am an actor. I act in all my videos. Just like how Leonardo DiCaprio played the racist slave trader in Django Unchained. I play the character of edgy Oogway. Just because we play these characters doesn't mean we are actually like them. I don't know if he's actually this stupid or he's just, you know, trying to mentally manipulate whatever fans he does have. Aside from the insane comparison to Django Unchained, a movie from the perspective of an emancipated African slave, that's not even the problem here. You want to say that you're an actor playing a character? Sure. You're a shitty actor playing a one-dimensional character. Fucking congratulations. Aside from that, it doesn't change the fact that it's just mindless and unfunny shock humor. I'm not gonna ascribe the things you say to you as a person. I'm not gonna say you're racist towards black people. I'm not gonna say you hate Jews. I'm not gonna say that you want to sexually assault young girls. But there's still two problems. Number one, you're breaking TOS and then complaining when you're held accountable for the rules you broke. And number two, you aren't even being funny. The sole intention of all of your jokes is to just be offensive and shocking. I know humor is subjective, but it's not even really humor at that point. It's just being gross and weird for the sake of being gross and weird. Make racist jokes, make jokes about assaulting children if you want, make whatever joke you want to make. I don't care, but I'm not gonna pretend that just because your jokes are offensive and go against the grain of like a modern woke society that they're funny and well thought out. They're not, they're just cringe and boring. I shall be forever remembered as the man who got bombarded by cancel culture and stood his fucking ground. No one is fucking canceling you, dude. YouTube is implementing its terms of service and you're reaping what you've sown. Mr. Oogway has since been having a massive mental breakdown publicly on Twitter, probably the biggest one I've seen since fucking 2Mad. He keeps going back and forth between his dynamic of like, oh, I'm gonna stop engaging, and then doubling down and trying to be more offensive. There was this one tweet where he said, if this man can be forgiven, I can be forgiven too. And then it's just a picture of Keemstar saying the N-word. And then iFunny quote retweeted him and said, no one forgave that bald retard. You got fucking mogged by iFunny, dude. That shit is crazy. How do you take such a massive L that iFunny ratios you 20-fold? He keeps posting shit like this with Shane Dawson, EDP445, and Logan Paul. Of course, dispersed in between virtue signaling about Palestine and loving everyone. He's also having these weird manic delusions of grandeur. The bricks you guys threw at me were the foundation to my empire. Yeah, sure, buddy, whatever you say. What is your empire? Your platforms are being taken away and all of your fans are probably playing fucking Roblox right now. I was super eager to talk about this situation because it's reflective of a huge problem that we have online, something that I deal with a lot. Due to the massive amount of left-wing virtue signaling and bullying that comes from cancel culture, we've created a parallel group of people who are just as toxic and mindless. They just, you know, do the opposite. The answer to the over-sanitized nature of the internet is not being radically edgy and offensive. The goal should be to return to some form of normalcy. When you have these people who are mindlessly edgy just for the sake of it, they end up being a self-fulfilling prophecy. They exist as walking strawmans and represent the delusions of these social justice warriors participating in cancel culture. Rather, we should promote being edgy as a tool used for comedy that in moderation is perfectly fine and not harmful, because that's the reality of comedy. Rather than just using edgy humor as like the sole method of getting cheap laughs from brain-dead kids on TikTok and YouTube. I want to see the internet become less uptight about this shit, and it is happening. I think the cancel culture stuff is becoming less popular and it's kind of halfway out the door. But it's no thanks to mindless edgelords like Master Oogway. In fact, he probably makes the whole situation worse. If you want to be a creator, don't follow in his footsteps. It clearly won't get you anywhere. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And make sure you smash that like button and subscribe or epic sex. And I'll catch you in the next one. See you guys.